All right, let's get started, everybody. Good morning. It's so great to be here on this beautiful Tuesday morning in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. As we all know, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, which is the unofficial kickoff to summer. And as I've always said, public safety is my number one priority as mayor, and it will always be my number one priority as mayor. As we approach the summer season, it was important for our administration to really show a true all of government approach to addressing violent crime in the city of Cleveland. This year's summer safety plan builds on the great success we've seen with our RISE initiative, raising investment in safety for everyone, which consists of a three-pronged approach. Number one, historic investments in our men and women of our police department, from the wage increases we negotiated to the fast track promotion process we now have, to increasing the age limit for the men and women to join the ranks of our department as well too. It also consists of deepened, expanded partnerships with local, state, and federal law enforcement officials, and Deputy Chief Pillow will talk more in detail about those partnerships that we have for this summer. It also consists of investments and expansion of technology, from the work we did to expand ShotSpotter across all 5 police districts, to the work we're doing in June to launch the first ever crime gun intelligence center, to the work we've done with residents and small business owners to increase the number of cameras registered in our smart camera sharing system into our real-time crime center. All of these investments go a long way to reducing crime on our streets, and the results speak for themselves. As you know, we've seen a nearly 50% reduction in homicides over the spring season, and we hope we can continue that progress as we prepare for the summer. And what's unique about this year's summer safety plan is we recognize that every department across the city of Cleveland has a role to play in reducing violent crime, to making sure we beef up code enforcement in our targeted hotspots, to making sure we work with the Department of Aging with seniors in our hotspots, to making sure that we also work with Public Works to fix illegal dumping sites and fix potholes in our targeted hotspots. All of that shows the residents of Cleveland that we want to make sure we protect them and keep our city as safe as possible this summer. So now I'll kick it off to Director Drummond to talk about more details about our plan. Director?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You know what's different about this particular press conference and versus the many we've done in the past? And I say it all the time about my experience here is, within the city of Cleveland, 35 years as a career police officer, and now moving on through the ranks and interim safety director. What's different about this is all the people behind me. That's really significant. Normally when we have these type of press conferences, it's generally the mayor, safety director, chief of police, and maybe a few others, and maybe our partners and so forth. But look behind me. That's important. The mayor said a whole of government, all of government. That's exactly what we're doing. From every department, every division is behind me. It's extremely important to understand all of government approach to a crime prevention. How did this all start? It started by analyzing our crime trends over the last 3 summers to see primarily Part 1 crimes. We're talking about homicides, robberies, false assaults, and we analyzed those within the last 3 years. And we identified several hotspots, and we're going to concentrate on those 7 hotspots. But although we're going to concentrate our efforts, all of our efforts, everyone behind me, every department behind us in those particular hotspots, we're going to hit every other area in the city of Cleveland as well. The Division of Police doesn't have the heavy lift by itself. And I think historically, the Division of Police had the heavy lift. Again, this is an all-of-government approach. To my left, I have Deputy Chief Ali Pillow. He's going to get into more specifics for we call the heat wave. It's the plan from the Division of Police. But also to my right, next to the mayor, we have the Division of Fire. We have the MS here as well, who's going to play a very important role in the crime prevention that we have in those particular hotspots. We have not only those particular divisions, we also have animal care and control. they're going to play a part in it. Every single division, every single department takes ownership in preventing crime. Equally important is our citizens. Our citizens play a major, major role in the reduction of crime in our communities. If they see something, say something. We say it all the time. See something, say something. Report it, and you can do it confidentially. We're going to keep that information confidential, but we're going to work with you and work with the community to reduce the crime that we've been experiencing. We have the Department of Aging here, Public Works, the Health Department, and I can go on and go on and go on. And one might say, why are they important? Because they are. They provide services to our community members in those hotspot areas and also outside of those hotspot areas. Again, this is an all of government, whole of government approach to crime prevention. And I believe through those efforts, we'll see, I believe, and I hope, as the mayor said, that we'll see a downward trend in those violent crimes. Again, we have to put things in perspective and make sure we put things in perspective. It's just not a police issue. It's an all of government issue. And that's why we're coming here together as a unified front, all of government, to express to the general public our efforts in bringing down violent crime and crime in general. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Ali Pillow, who's going to get into more of the specific concentration that his staff and Division of Police, as well as our partners, will be doing in those particular areas, and just not those areas identified, but also all of the city of Cleveland. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Pillow. I want to speak to you about the law enforcement aspect of this summer's initiative. We've titled it Operation Heat Wave. It is going to run it's been running from May 1st through August 31st. It is an ongoing, evolving project from law enforcement. We will adapt to whatever crimes trends we see occurring over those few months. What it's going to comprise of is, of course, heavy traffic enforcement. We're working with our traffic unit as well as our partners at Ohio State Highway Patrol to increase our traffic enforcement. It is something that the residents have asked for quite some time. Council has asked for it, and some of the crime trends that we see revolve around traffic enforcement. So we're going to be picking that up. It will consist of at least one, possibly two warrant sweeps this summer. The warrant sweeps are usually 1 day of effective enforcement with identifying individuals that our district detectives have identified as committing crimes. But I want the people to know, not just that 1 day. Our partners, the Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force, which is comprised of Cleveland police officers and officers from around the surrounding suburbs, are working every day to identify and pick these individuals up. We've had some great success with that. Every day individuals are being picked up who've been identified as having committed crimes. But there will be a warrant sweep. Focused patrol, directed patrols. We have identified hotspots, we've identified trends, and we've also listened to the residents in the community who've talked about areas and locations where they're experiencing crime or quality of life issues. What we've done is we've kind of gone back to something we did before. We used to have a fast response car. We have taken a car with our 12-hour shifts and dedicated that car for 6 to 8 hours to only focus on code 1s and 2s, and other than that to be free to follow up on quality of life issues, do traffic enforcement. There'll be one on the early part of their 12-hour shift and one during the second part of their 12-hour shifts. The other part I want to mention is the 12-hour shifts. This is the first summer we've had the 12-hour shifts. It's given our folks a break, some reprieve, and we'll see how that is going to impact our response as well. Our violent crime reduction details. We will be running violent crime reduction details at least 5 to 6 times a month. 2 of those per month will involve our partners with Ohio State Highway Patrol. The others will be our district detectives, our vice units, our community engagement units, and some of our other law enforcement partners. We'll be running those between 5 to 6 times a month. Different areas, we'll get feedback from our district commanders, who'll get feedback from the residents, as well as what the intelligence takes us to, where those crimes are happening. And we'll be deploying resources with a specific target area to what those crimes are in that neighborhood. If it's auto theft, if it is drug sales, if it is violent crimes or shootings. Those violent crime details will be directed towards whatever those problems are. Again, intelligence and data-led policing to stop those issues. After these enforcement actions, what's really important is that after we do all these enforcement actions, we will send our community engagement officers back into those neighborhoods. Our community engagement officers, our community relations officers, to either explain to the residents, hey, what we did, and to get feedback from the residents. Is this working for you? Did this impact anything? What is your feedback? So we can take that and add that to the intelligence that we're gathering to be able to police with the community. It's very important that communication is a two-way street. We're telling people what we want to do, but we need to get the feedback with what is happening. What do you see happening with the resource that we're deploying in your neighborhoods? Our partnerships. These are not new partnerships. I've partnered with all of these agencies since over the 30 years that I've been here, but those partnerships continue. The U.S. Marshals, DEA, ATF, FBI, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office, and I'm probably missing someone. Adult parole. Adult parole is another important component that we'll be doing. We will be utilizing our partners with adult parole to do checks on individuals, to follow up with individuals out on parole. If they're doing the right thing, outstanding. But if they're not, there are other consequences that we'll be utilizing that resource to identify and try and take some of those bad actors off of the street. The important part of this for us, what's new about this, is the feedback. As we do these enforcement activities, our officers will have a fast track to reaching out to our stakeholders and our service providers from the city and being able to funnel back information, whether it be building and housing code violations, identifying individuals with housing issues, the elderly, education, poverty, whatever it is that we see outside of crime that's impacting the community, we'll have a fast track to reach out to our partners behind me right now and have them be able to deploy those resources to help that community. It's not about crime. It's about stopping the crime, but finding out what's driving that crime or what is leading people to fall that way. Again, education, jobs, neighborhood safety issues, whatever it is, as a division of police, we don't have the capacity to fix that, but we have a direct line to the people who can. So it's important for us to get that information back. Thank you.
So, as you've heard this morning, this truly is an all-of-government approach to address and curb violent crime in our city. In addition to the initiatives we outlined, we're also, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be deploying another $1 million from our Neighborhood Safety Fund to invest in youth diversion programs, as well as to ensure that we're investing in high-quality out-of-school time programs for young people to be productive this summer as well, too. So with that being said, we'll take a few questions. Yes. 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 Yes.
Is the city, the county council has kind of, brought up the point where, well, the city should be paying part of this. Is there any plan for the city to maybe pay for part of that?
Well, as I've discussed with the county executive and the county sheriff, everyone recognizes that a thriving Cleveland makes a thriving region. And I've got commitments from both the county executive and the county sheriff to support law enforcement on all things downtown safety, as well as other violent crime happening across the city as well, too.
Will the city help pay for some of that?
As I said before, the county executive and the county sheriff have committed to supporting Cleveland on all law enforcement efforts.
Mayor, I have another question. Why did you hire Philip McHugh, your college roommate, for a senior safety position, even with a civil rights lawsuit in his background? And then,
Yes.
additionally, why didn't you stand up for him publicly after
Yeah.
it became a firestorm?
Well, as I've said in my statement, I've always been focused on bringing best-in-class talent to the city of Cleveland. Unfortunately, Mr. McHugh's background became a distraction for folks in the community. We listened, and now we're moving forward, and today is an example of how we're moving forward to keep Clevelanders safe. Next question, Matt. I'll talk about that.
Good question. We're talking about the summer safety plan, but that includes our plan to increase our numbers in the Division of Police. We do have a class in right now. There's 46 cadets. We have a very robust recruitment plan in place through our Civil Service Division as well as our recruitment unit to identify individuals, qualified individuals, for a class that we're going to start in August, coupled with a class that we plan to start also at the end of the year. So again, what those numbers are, we're not quite sure, but that is part of our safety plan continually to make sure that we have qualified individuals and that we do have a robust recruitment plan in place.
Wait, you mentioned there were several hotspots that you all are going to focus on. What are they, and how are you going to focus on them?
Hey Tracy, how are you? We identified hotspots, and again, traditionally, again, from my 35 years in the city of Cleveland, the hotspots are pretty consistent. They really are. You look up on a heat map, and we do have heat density maps and so forth, and I can tell you from my 35 years on the job, they're pretty consistent. They're pretty consistent. But we still concentrated our efforts for the last 3 years for the summer months. And based on that, again, we identified these areas, these hotspots, which we're not going to get into specifics here. Tracy, I'm sorry that I can't answer that specifically. We're not going to get into specifics, but we did identify those areas. They're consistent, and we're going to concentrate our efforts, all of government approach, not just police. Police is extremely important, but so is every other division and department, to concentrate in those areas, provide the level of service that those residents in those areas really deserve.
Great.
I apologize, I was stuck in traffic. So
Kevin, then Nick. Okay. Yeah.
I was a little late,
Yeah.
but every mayor has a plan for the summer.
Yes.
Fine. What makes your plan different and what you believe will be more successful than in past?
The teammates and community leaders you see behind me, that's what makes this plan different. We recognize that we can't do it alone at City Hall. Police can't do it alone. That's why we have clergy partnering with us to walk the beat with the men and women of our police department, to walk the beat with violence interrupters, to connect young people to opportunity so they don't get caught up in violent crime. Everyone behind me this morning represents what makes this plan different. What also makes this plan different is this administration, in a way that historically we haven't done in the city of Cleveland. We're using data and intelligence to really make sure we have precise law enforcement and aggressive law enforcement to get the most violent criminal offenders off our streets with all deliberate speed. Nick?
And Mayor, on that, do you have a sense of where are young people getting guns, and
Yeah.
what can you do to stop guns from getting into their hands?
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for that question. I'm going to let Deputy Chief Pillow speak on this as well. What we have in Ohio and really across the country, you have these straw purchasers of illegal guns that continue to allow for the acquisition of these illegal guns on our streets, which is very problematic, especially because we don't have common sense, comprehensive gun reform at the federal and state level. So we can't wait for change on this issue. And so we've studied for best practices in Columbus and Cincinnati this June in partnership with the ATF and U.S. Attorney. We'll be launching the first ever Crime Gun Intelligence Center. This is a data-driven approach to make sure we can curb and stop the flow of illegal guns in our streets. And we've already piloted this work over the last several months using that NIBIN technology and ShotSpotter data as well. And that's why our homicide solve rate is roughly 74%, way above the national average, because we're using technology, we're using data, and we're partnering with federal law enforcement in a way we've never done before. Deputy Chief, you want to speak on that as well, too?
I will. Unfortunately, as most of you know, there's no shortage of guns on the streets of Cleveland or across the country. One of the things that I'd like to ask the residents in the community is to really practice gun safety. A number of weapons are stolen out of homes and or vehicles. Please consider where you're keeping your guns. It's incumbent upon us to stop the auto theft down, but when people are breaking into these cars or whatever, there's a huge number of weapons being taken from vehicles. One of the things that's going to help us with this is the Gun Crime Intelligence Center, the CCIC. We do have a component that will focus on straw purchases, identifying where weapons came from, and we'll have a stronger tool to crack down on those illegal purchases of firearms and to track down where those firearms are coming from. Recently, we with our federal partners, there was an indictment of a couple of individuals that revolved around straw purchases, purchasing weapons to be shipped across the state and as well as through outside the country. So we've identified these individuals. We are cracking down on that. But again, I would ask residents to please utilize gun safety at home, lock boxes, keeping those weapons where young people can't get them. We've seen a proliferation of kids going to school with weapons, getting them from home. So it's not just illegal purchases. It's incumbent upon the residents in the community to really consider owning a gun. There's a great responsibility with having a weapon. It's everybody's right. We understand that. But you can really contribute to it, keeping it out of the wrong people's hands with safety.
I have a technology question for the mayor and safety director.
Yeah.
Why has it taken 2 years to order drones, and why are the Cleveland police just now beginning to use dash cams that were installed last year?
Thanks, Ed, for the question. We are taking our time relative to the drone, at least your drone question. Make sure that we have the best technology, and sometimes that's a process. We want to make sure that we have the best technology. We want to make sure that we have the best policies in place to make sure that our citizens are comfortable with us using drones. So we have to make sure that we go nationally, see what they're doing across the nation. And again, that all takes time. So we're gonna slow walk it to make sure that we're doing the right thing relative to our residents and what they want and what they need. As far as the dash cameras, that's a process as well. We want to make sure that we get them all installed. We have to make sure that all of our officers are trained properly and that we have the correct policies in place. And we're in the process now of implementing those particular dash cameras. As a matter of fact, Ed, I'll tell you, we have 2 districts up and running. And again, once we get all the officers trained, then they'll be implemented across all 5 districts.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We're going to be canvassing the neighborhood, cleaning up the park, and we'll be doing more summer safety walks as the summer season kicks off. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks.